Hey, and welcome to the Joie Miller Podcast. I'm Pastor Joie Miller, and we are in a season of the podcast called Revival of Responsibility, talking about taking responsibility for all things in our life in 2025. And so I'm excited to launch into the topic of health with you, talking about taking responsibility over our health and our bodies. Many times we don't think about our bodies until something goes wrong, or until we get a doctor's report that we don't like, or maybe the jeans don't fit, or it's bathing suit season and it's too late. And so I want to talk to you about quality and quantity of life equating to longevity and living the life that you love, creating the life that you love in the area of your health and your body. And that doesn't mean a jean size. That doesn't mean that you have to look a certain way, but it is maximizing your health. Remember, longevity, quality, and quantity. So we don't just want quantity. I don't want to live until I'm 100 and be in a place where I can't enjoy my family, where I can't serve the purposes of God, where I'm hostage to my body. I want to live until I can't live anymore. I want to live my life in the fullness of. And so this past year, I read a book, and it was such a good book. You can write this down and you can put it on your to-read list for 2025. And it's called Outlive. And it's by Peter, I think it's Attia. I'm probably going to say it wrong. But the book is Outlive. It's Peter, Attia. And he really addresses being proactive with our health versus being reactive in our health. And so I want to talk to you about this because it's so important, because we need our bodies, we need our minds to accomplish God's purpose on the earth. And here's the thing. I was from a family where I didn't have a lot of relatives that had lived out longevity, that they hadn't. On my mother's side, I had one grandmother. On my father's side, both of my grandparents had passed away before I was even born. All of my aunts and uncles, I felt like, had dealt with some sort of health issue. My mother died when she was 64. My father passed away at 80, but we were dealing with health issues, probably for 20 years with my father. And so I say that to say this, I have been on the other side of it. I've experienced maybe, missing out on the joys of having people around me who should have lived longer or could have had a better quality of life. And it was a wake-up call enough for me to say, I don't want that as my portion. And there's a difference between getting in fear and saying, what's going to happen to me? And then taking it by faith and saying, I am going to do my part. I'm going to take responsibility, that I'm believing God is my healer. He's my protector. But I'm going to show up and do my part to show God that I value my body. I value the temple that He has given to me. I have one body to carry out the purposes of God in my life. And so just like, our vision and our goals and our capacity and our time management all contribute to serving the purposes of God if we take them into responsibility, so as it is with our body, that our body is meant to serve the purposes of God in our lives. I want to enjoy my grandkids. I want to enjoy my great-grandkids, my great-great-grandkids. I want to enjoy my spouse. I want to live a long, productive, healthy life. And so I'm going to do it as much as I can on my end. I love the verse in 3 John 1:2. It says, "Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along." And here the scripture is talking about, look, it takes all parts of us to enjoy the life that God has given us to enjoy. So I want to talk to you based out of the book Outlive and some things that I've just applied to my life. There's some strategies for taking responsibility for your health, for taking your life back. And I remember a season in my life where my health wasn't the best. I was overweight we had 5 kids, 5 amazing kids. I had a miscarriage in between. And I had just gained like a lot of weight. And what I found was like I had just become like a victim to, this is just the way life is going to be. And I would make excuses. I would say, you know what, I don't know why so-and-so can eat whatever they want and they're like a toothpick. And I was just mad. I wanted to be able to eat what I wanted and still look how I wanted. And I would go to the gym like 3 times and be like mad, like I haven't lost any weight. Why is so-and-so go to the gym and they're super fit and I'm going to the gym and I'm still so overweight. And so this was the place that I was. And what I was doing was I was allowing excuses to surface for me not to do my part, not to take responsibility with my health. And instead, I would just get mad. I would be like, okay, nothing's changing, so I'm just going to enjoy and eat the whole box of Oreos. But what was happening was I was becoming depressed. I wouldn't want to leave my house. I wouldn't want to go to church because I just wasn't the picture of health that I wanted to be. And I knew I wasn't doing my part. And it wasn't until I took my health serious that I took responsibility. I stripped away every excuse. When I got serious about my health, one of the first things that any health coach or any physician will tell you is if you want to be serious, you have to stop making excuses. He said, if you cave in every time there's a birthday party, every time there's a work lunch, every time you're having a bad day, every time, your girlfriend wants to go out and eat, if you cave in all of those spaces, you're never going to take responsibility. You're not going to take it seriously. You're always going to end up at square one. But the moment you strip back every excuse, and that doesn't mean you can't still engage in those things. You just don't have the cake. You just have coffee. When you really get serious about it and stop making excuses and take responsibility, there's other paths that you can take that truly not only are they better for you on the outward, that you feel better about yourself, but they're good for you on the inside too, and your health. And so I want to talk about some strategies to really walking in the best life that you can have in the area of your health and longevity. And I want to say this too. I want to say, start where you're at. Don't change everything all at once. Start making little changes in your life in 2025. If it's a golden rule in goal setting. If you try to take too big of bites in the beginning, you're going to set yourself up for failure, and then you're just going to throw in the towel and you're going to say, this doesn't work. Start where you're at, make small changes, start to implement even maybe some of the things that we're going to talk about on this podcast, small changes, and be consistent in those changes. And when you do that, you're going to see huge results in your life. Start where you're at and be consistent. All right, number 1, strategy for longevity, quality and quantity when it comes to living our best life with God. Number 1 is exercise regularly. And as I'm giving you these points, you're going to be like, wow, that's like really super simple. I was waiting for some heavy revelation of what I could do, or, we're always looking for the next diet fad. We're always looking for the next health kick. But really, it just comes down to simplicity of doing what we know to do and doing it consistently. So exercise regularly. Now, not just like exercise and do whatever you, I want to talk to you about intentional exercises and why they're important for longevity. Number 1 is strength training. If you try to do strength training 2 to 3 times a week, it helps your metabolic health and consistency. So I always used to think like I don't want to lift weights. I just want to do cardio, but strength training, listen to me, women, is so important, especially for women. It helps in your bone health. It helps with your posture. It helps as you age, not having osteoporosis, building up your strength. It helps in all of these different areas. So if you can do this 2 to 3 times a week, and it doesn't have to, listen, one of the biggest barriers that your mind's are going to come up with is, I can't afford that. I could never do that. I have kids at home. All of the excuses that pile up, see? But when you're serious about it, you strip away all those excuses and say, no, I'm pretty sure I could buy some weights at Walmart. I'm pretty sure I can buy a strength band at Walmart. Let me tell you, there are so many apps and free stuff on YouTube or TikTok or whatever that your source is, where you can do at-home strength training. Buy, a little ball that you do when you lift. There's so many things that you can do for strength training 2 to 3 times a week. So make sure you incorporate that. Another area of exercise is zone 2 cardio. And that is getting your cardio level to a zone 2, which would equate to like a brisk walk or cycling. And so this gets your heart rate in the area that it needs to be. How many of you start where you're at, but when you can work up to this, you're going to get more bang for your buck out of your workout. How many of you have walked a mile and it's taken you like an hour and you're like, I probably didn't hit my cardio goals in that hour. It's still good. It's still healthy, but you should always be aiming to be in that zone 2 where your heart rate is getting to that safe spot. You can look up what that is for you. And what you're doing is it's really good for your heart health. We need to take care of our hearts. One heart, one body that we have, and many times we don't address our heart until something bad happens. Be proactive and say, this is the only heart I have. I want to maintain, I want to be healthy and strong for as long as I can. So it's as simple as this simple cardio a couple times a week. So if you do this cardio 2 to 3 hours per week, it's a proactive way to keep your heart healthy. Now, not at all at one time. Maybe it's a 20-minute walk every day. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk. There is such power in 10 to 15 minutes. There was a season in my life where I had a personal trainer, and she would say, okay, we're going to do this next exercise, and I want you to do it for 20 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this felt like an eternity. I can't believe it was only 20 minutes. But think about how many times that you have wasted 20 minutes. You'll sit on your cell phone and scroll through social media for 20 minutes. But whenever you're exercising, it's crazy how much you can get in that 20-minute span. So don't think you have to have 2 to 3 hours in one day. Maybe it's 10 minutes. You go on a brisk walk at lunch. You take your tennis shoes. You walk around your office complex. Whatever it is, get active for your heart health. And the third area is high-intensity workouts. This is short burst of high-intensity workouts one time per week. So maybe you have HIIT training. Maybe you just, instead of doing a brisk walk, maybe every so often you'll do a sprint in that walk. And so as you do that, you're conditioning your body, you're keeping your heart rate up. It's good for your metabolism. It's just good for overall vitalization. And, so many times we get these mindsets that we can't do things that you actually can do. So of course, go to your doctor, make sure you're clear, all those things. But don't buy into the lie that you can't do it. You can do it. You're stronger than you think, and you're more capable than you think if you just start moving forward. All right, let's talk about nutrition. Nutrition is another one of those simple things that makes a big difference in your longevity, especially the food that we have available to us now. I remember I grew up in the 80s, and it was like cheese curls and TV dinners came out, and like all these things that I'm sure were so bad for us. It was hard to eat healthy. But now it is super easy to eat healthy. Pretty much there's not an excuse not to eat healthy other than you just don't want to. And so, making sure that you're eating your protein. Don't underestimate, especially women, the power of protein. You should eat 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. Do a little bit of your math, not girl math, real math, and figure out how much protein. Girl math is like that Buckeye cookie has some peanut butter in it, and so that is my protein intake for the day. So get that protein in. It's so important, especially for women. It helps you maintain muscle, and it gives you support while aging. And so if you don't want your body to be all saggy, there's something that you can do now for it. Don't wait until you're all saggy and you're like, oh man, I have to try to reverse engineer my whole body. No, just say, I'm going to up my protein, do these exercises, and I'm going to feel good about myself, and I'm going to be healthy. Reduce sugar and refined carbs. This is a big one, guys. Reduce sugar and refined carbs. I haven't eaten sugar and like flour and refined carbs in about over a decade. I had gestational diabetes with my 5th child, and I just stopped doing it, and I realized my body felt better. So many times we just don't feel good, and we get so used to not feeling good that we just accept that as normal. And that's kind of how it was. But then once I gave those things up, I was like, I feel like night and day. I feel so good. So it's just not good for you to have all of that sugar and all of that refined carbs in your diet. It's not healthy for you, especially for women. In fact, there's studies that I've read that said even it's beneficial during hormonal fluctuations, like maybe you just had a baby, or maybe on your time of the month, or maybe going through menopause or premenopause, if you feel like your emotions are all over the place, those urges that you just want to kill somebody sometimes, that can actually be tempered through your diet by cutting out sugar and white flour from your diet. And so being mindful of that. And it also causes, when you eat a lot of those things, it causes your metabolism to dysfunction and not work like it's supposed to work. And so, and overall, it's just not good for you. Hey friend, I hope you're enjoying this season of the Joie Miller Podcast, talking about the revival of responsibility. And if you want to take responsibility over your life, a great way to do that is to join the Joie Miller Collective. There is a small opportunity of time left for you to join the collective. It's our Success CEO class, taking your life back, becoming the CEO of your own life again. We're going to be talking about structuring for success, gaining capacity, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, maybe you're a working mom, maybe you're going into ministry, maybe your life just seems a lot of chaos and out of control. I want to invite you to this program. I want to come alongside of you. I want to help you, mentor you, and give you clarity on how you can make small changes to create the life you love. So join the collective today. Go to joiemiller.co and sign up. Can't wait to see you there. And then focus on whole or unprocessed foods in your diet. So you might say, yeah, I get that, but it's hard because, grocery shopping and all the things. When you go to the grocery store, try to shop the outside perimeter of the grocery store. So try to stay away from like the canned goods. Try to stay away from the super processed foods, like the aisles that my children want to gravitate towards, like ramen noodles and cereals and all the things, the potato chips. Try to do the majority of your shopping around the perimeter. And let me just say, the sooner you can instill this, not only live this way, but instill this in your children. I was raised like I had Kool-Aid for dinner. Like my family wasn't super health conscious. So, I was drinking Coca-Cola, Kool-Aid. I was eating my cheese curls. And so that was never really instilled into me. And so, if you can give your children the gift of training them to eat healthy, it is such a gift for them. And so, cut up those extra carrots and cucumbers. Take the effort to put them in the fridge. You don't have to buy them all the junk. They'll eat whatever you teach them and train them to eat. So prepare them for success in that area, but go around the edges, cut up those veggies. There's so many hacks now between, like I said, TikTok, Instagram, all the things that you can, there's not really any excuse not to be able to use these real ingredients and create delicious food. And it'll take some time to detox and retrain your palate. There's some things that I eat that I'm like, this is so delicious. And my family's like, this tastes like cat food. This is disgusting. But what's happened is I've retrained my palate. Or if you've ever done a long fast, right after a time of fasting, you can just taste every ingredient. Right now, if I ate something, I could easily identify something that was processed or the different ingredients in something because I don't eat those things often. And so try to retrain your palate. And then go to farmers markets. I love the summer and I love trying to find a good farmers market. Not only are you supporting the community, but it's just fun. Back in the olden days and still up north, they call it like going for provisions. And what that means is like they don't just go to like a one-stop shop. They'll go like to the butcher shop for meat. They'll go to the farmers market for fruits and veggies. They'll go to a bakery for bread. And so it's saying, how can I be intentional to make the extra effort to go and get the good things that are they're going to fuel my body and my family's body. Taking responsibility. Once again, nothing good happens on accident. It's because we're being intentional with our health. Make a garden. Put a garden outside. Buy some chickens. There's so many things that you can do to really eat healthy and eat whole food, real food, eat real food. Intermittent fasting. I mentioned fasting before, so we fast for spiritual reasons, but it's good for you to fast occasionally and give your body a reset and a rest. Maybe it's just 24 hours. 24 hours of not eating. If you're a healthy person, you're not going to die from you're going to feel like you're going to die, but you're not going to die from not eating for 24 hours. Give your body a chance to reset there's so many benefits of fasting. Get a book on fasting. It regenerates cells. It is just good for your overall health. And then implement intermittent fasting. This is one of the things that I love, is just to be timed with your meals. Make sure you're not eating late. Maybe you're intermittent fasting. You can set your schedule. Maybe you're like, I can't eat a big lunch, so I eat a big dinner, or vice versa. Set your time periods, but only eat during so many hours of the day and give your body time to rest. One of the biggest lies we feed into is that we have to be eating these huge meals all the time. My family, when we're getting ready to go into 21 days of prayer and fasting, it's like every meal is like an all-you-can-eat buffet. It's like eating a huge meal with dessert, and then 20 minutes later, like, what snacks do we have in the closet? And so our bodies aren't meant to be able to burn and process all of that food. And so if you give yourself a break, you're going to realize, wow, like, I'm not really hungry. And there's hacks you can do. Be smart about it. Like, drink more water. Put some lemon in your water. Drink some tea. Whatever that is, retrain your mind that you always don't have to be eating and consuming something. So intermittent fasting is huge. And then sit down and eat. Be intentional. I used to eat on the go all the time. I would just grab something and I would trick myself into thinking I didn't really eat. I would be like, I didn't really eat today. No, I did. I was just like eating in the car or eating on the go. And so I made myself to sit down with a plate and actually stop and enjoy and intentionally and mindfully eat my food. And what that did was I was like, okay, I feel full now. I had that, like, check it off my list. When we're so fast and just going through the motions of something, we can still think that we didn't eat, and we did eat, and that could cause overconsumption. Listen, we always underestimate the amount of calories we take in, and we always overestimate the amount of exercise or calories that we burn. If you go to the gym and you time yourself, you're like, I ran a mile, like surely I burnt like 3,000 calories. And really, if you time it, you realize it's probably 100 calories per mile. And so, but until you rip that Band-Aid off and take a good hard look at it, then you live in an area of ignorance to what actually you're bringing in and putting out when your body is concerned. So, all right, nutrition, do all those things at the level that you can. Start little and be consistent in it. Number 3 is sleep. So underestimate the area of sleep. Me, completely, all the time. I think for so many years of my life, I would just pull all-nighters. I'd be like, the laundry needs done or this needs done, and I just wouldn't sleep. And actually, it's probably been about the last year that I started to be very conscientious of my sleep patterns. And so I went through a traumatic year, taking care of my father, lost my father, just some different things. It was like a stressful year. And I wasn't being kind to my body. So we need to discipline our body. And the Bible talks all about that. It says, Paul said, I buffet my body and make it my slave. That there's areas of our body that we have to bring into discipline. But I wasn't being kind to my body in the area of sleep, because we also have to be kind to our bodies. We have to take care of our bodies. We have to make decisions based in our spirit that we know are best for our bodies. And so I was doing all the things, even getting up and doing work like with the wee early hours of the morning. And then it hit me one day. I'm like, my kids are in school now. Like, I don't have to get up at 4 a.m. to get all this done. Like, I can do this. I can time manage to do this later in my day, and let yourself sleep a little bit longer. What was I doing? In a stressful season, in a healing season emotionally, or I was being kind to myself and allowing my body to have a little bit more rest than it needed. So our goal should be 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. And once again, you can make excuses or you can start to move on this. So you can put your phone away earlier. You can fashion your life that you're not staying up watching Netflix until 1 a.m. You can say, okay, my goal is 7 to 8 hours of rest. And so you're being kind to your body in that way. You want to keep a consistent sleep schedule. It's funny with babies, we're so timed and rhythm in it. But when as adults, we're kind of like all over the place with our sleep. The more that you can be consistent, our body operates on those cycles. And so the more you can be consistent in your sleep, the better. If you're having a hard time sleeping, try magnesium. And it is a great supplement to help you get a good night's sleep. Also, limit your caffeine. Sometimes I'd be laying awake and I would be like, why am I wide awake? And I'm like, oh, wait, maybe that coffee at 9 o'clock at night, I keep saying it doesn't bother me, but maybe it does bother me. So limit your caffeine intake, and then create a cool, dark space where you're sleeping. Don't my kids can fall asleep with the lights on and the TV on. I'm like, how are you sleeping? This isn't restful. Because even though you think you're sleeping, there's all these other things going on that are triggering your brain while you're sleeping. And so creating that space where when you're resting, you're all in. Like whatever I'm doing all of it. And so creating that atmosphere is so important. And then I actually have you, if you have an Apple Watch or a smartwatch or a health ring, or I forget what they're called, or a Garmin or whatever that looks like, you can actually track your sleep and see how much sleep that you're getting. And that's really helpful, because then you can say, my pattern's off, or I'm not getting into the REM cycle, or, I feel kind of yucky today. And you could look back and say, that's because I didn't sleep well last night. So there's lots of things that you can do, but don't underestimate a good night's sleep and rest. So feeling discouraged, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling depressed, tired, take a look at your sleep. How much sleep have you been getting? And then number 4 would be this: take care of your emotional health. Lean into relationships and connection. You are not meant to be an island. God puts people around us in our lives to have a relationship with, and it actually contributes to our health. Loneliness is a huge cause of sickness and death. Just being lonely and isolating, and that we're made for human connection. We're made to have a purpose. We're made to hug somebody. We're made for physical touch. We're made just for that emotional well-being, to connect with other people. So don't cut yourself off or think, hey, I don't have time to meet a friend for lunch. Actually, in my planner on my weekly task list, I make myself, because naturally I could be like a workaholic. I make myself call a friend. It's actually on my list. Connect with friends, connect with family, and I check it off. Maybe it's a text. Hey, how are you doing today? I was thinking about you. Maybe, hey, let's meet for coffee. Whatever that is, I have to be intentional about it, because I'm just not built naturally and wired like that. So be intentional about those relational connections. And then, join, if you're like, I don't have any friends, well, join your church has small groups, be a part of a community of some sort. And then, journal. I love to journal. That's a great emotional health exercise, is just to write down and journal. When you go back and read it, it helps you to have self-awareness. It helps you to express how you're feeling, not only to God, but for yourself as well. And then number 5 would be a preventative medicine. You might think, oh, wait, I thought this was like a podcast focused on faith. Well, yes, it is. And we have to be responsible. Let me just tell you this. All doctors aren't of the devil. Sorry to tell you that right now. Doctors, actually, most of them want to help people. And you can't buy into the lie that all doctors, I'm not saying it's perfect, it's bad, it has its issues, but most doctors want to keep you healthy and strong. And so, find the right doctor, make a decision. I'm not going to just, if I go to a doctor and they try to prescribe medicine, I'm not just going to take it. You're still in charge of your health. No one's forcing you to take a pill. You realize you have power to say, no, thank you, I don't want to try that at this time. But it's so important to, number 1 is to listen to your body. Your body will talk to you. Nobody knows your body like you know your body. And if something is wrong or you just feel off, don't ignore it. Most things are little things that if you address it quickly can not turn into big things. And so address things quickly when you feel out of sync or where you feel like something's off. And then be proactive with your yearly health screenings. Monitor, your health every year. There's certain doctors that I just, for precautionary things. Why? Because not only am I responsible for my life, but there's 5 other children, and then now my family's growing, grandchildren and their wives and my husband, and then the people that I serve with my calling. They are counting on me being responsible and keeping myself aware of what's going on with my body. And so just being proactive about those things, seeing your doctor for your well checkup. I go to my regular doctor. I get a blood panel done every year. Hey, does everything look good? Anything out of whack that I can make some adjustments? I go to my skin doctor, just do an overall skin check. I go to the eye doctor. Dentists, what is that? That's just being responsible. When my kids become adults, one of the first things that they do is they're like, I am never going to a dentist. I'm never going to a doctor again. And what is that? That's like immaturity. Once you realize, like, no, it's not an inconvenience in the sense of I'm just wasting my time. It's I'm being proactive in my health for longevity. And when you start to do that, you live at peace too. So many times the enemy tries to get in and create a lie in your head. And if you've gone to the doctors, you're like, no, you know what? Get behind me, Satan. Not only do I know God's my healer, but I just had that checked. Like, I'm fine. It's just a cold. But the enemy tries to magnify. And a lot of times we can put on the facade of faith. Like, I don't go to a doctor, but it's because we're afraid to go to the doctors. Like, we're afraid to actually get a checkup. And so just say, I'm going to operate with responsibility. I'm going to take care of this body. I'm going to be kind to my body, and I'm going to make sure that it's like a car. If you just ignore your car and you never change the oil, you're not taking good care of your car. You're not taking responsibility of your car. And so it's like that. Just make sure that your body is having everything that it needs. And that's a way you can live a long, healthy life. Reduce stress. Prayer and worship, yes. Every day, Bible reading, renewing your mind, taking that time of mindful praying and just meditating on God's word and focusing, it actually lowers your cortisol levels. So being mindful of taking that space, once again, it doesn't have to be 2 to 3 hours. If you have young kids, you're like, I don't have time. You have like 5 minutes just to spend in prayer and really focusing on the Lord. It'll lower your stress levels. And then make time for hobbies and self-care. I know that these tips sound so simple, but if we would just put them into practice, we would live long, healthy lives. So make a hobby. Find something that you actually enjoy. A few years ago, my husband didn't have a hobby, and it wasn't healthy for him. And so he said, you know what, this year I'm going to do triathlons. And he started, this was a couple years ago, this upcoming year, I'm going to do triathlons. He started, doing these triathlons. He started competing, and it was so healthy for him to have a hobby, have things that you enjoy doing, and you'll see a big difference in your overall emotional health and stress relief. And then, of course, number 7 is, try to eliminate or minimize bad behaviors. So that could be anything from, like, obviously drinking alcohol, smoking, whatever, vaping, whatever that is, eliminating those things. We think, oh, ha, 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 everyone does it. It's all ha, ha, ha until you're sitting in front of a doctor. So, eliminate those things from your life. And then any toxins, really, not to harp on this, but as much as you can, like, just start to make little changes. I'm not like a big, everything in my house has to be clean, but what I have power over, I will change. Like, if I'm at the store, if I'm at Target and there's 2 cleaning products and the ingredients on one is better than the other, I'm going to choose the good one. Try to eliminate those toxins as much as possible. Maybe it's, diffusing oils rather than candles. Maybe it's cookware. An investment that I made a couple years ago was in a non-toxic cookware. Just the little things that we can do to avoid those toxic things in our life. So taking responsibility for your health. These are just some simple strategies just to encourage you. Do them and see how things change in your health, because the goal is for you to live a life of not only quantity, right? Everyone wants to live a long life, but the Lord said, with a long life, I will satisfy you. I want to live a long, satisfied life. And that means a long life with quantity and quality. So can't wait to talk to you next time on the Joie Miller Podcast. I have some really cool interviews coming up. Next week, we are talking to an amazing mama who is going to give us tips on clean eating and clean living. So make sure you join us here. I'll see you next time on the Joie Miller Podcast.